Hi, welcome back to another podcast with Mr. Hagan. On this podcast, we're going to just get away from our tax calculator for a minute and just work on if statements in Excel. And so I just want to play with this a little bit, and then we're going to apply this to where we're going to look at some simple examples of using these if statements, and then we will apply them to more complicated ideas on some other videos using our personal tax calculators. So let's start by saying we want to put a number in cell D2. And so I'm going to write a formula here, and I'm going to say what number do I want to put in cell D2. So I want to say if some number or if something is true. So let's say if if A2 is let's see is greater than 50, I just pick some numbers, then we put a comma. That kind of means then. So we have some logical test right here, A2. And if A2 is greater than 50, then we're going to put into this cell, D2, we're going to put some number, 5,000. All right? Comma, if it's not true, if A2 is not greater than 50, then we're going to put the number 0 into this cell. Okay? And then finish the parentheses. Done. So the number that goes in here is going to be determined by whatever we type into A2. So I can take a number and I can plug it in, 5. Okay, 5 is not greater than 50, and so D is going to be 0. What if I actually make it 50? Well, that's not greater than 50. Okay, for this to take on another number, A2's got to be greater than 50. All right, what if A2 is 51? Now something should happen. Now that number is going to be equal to 5,000. See, so that's a very simple if statement. Okay, if you need parentheses on both sides, and you're going to say if some logical test is true, A2 is greater than 50, then after the first comma is the answer that will be put into the cell if this is true, comma, this is the number that will be put in the cell if this is not true. Okay, so that's a very simple example of how to use these if statements. Now let's try something, didn't mean to do that. Now let's try something a little more complicated. So let me just switch that back. Okay, let's try something a little, sorry. There we go. Let's try something a little more complicated now. Let's do a following statement. Let's say if, and an equal sign in front of it if it's going to be a number, if, and now we got to put this in parentheses, if let's see, we are on, I'm going to put something here in cell A5. If A5 minus B5 minus C5 is greater than 0, if that's greater than 0, so we got to put a 0 there, comma, then I'm going to make this cell be equal to the number in D2, okay, which is going to be whatever this number is, okay. Let's not get that complicated yet. Let's put a number in. Let's just put 5,000. I'll come back and do that example here in a moment. Then it's going to be equal to 5,000, comma. So let me just say that again. If A5 minus B5 minus C5 is greater than 0, then the answer that will go into this cell will be 5,000. Otherwise, I'm going to make that number be 1,000. Okay? Otherwise, that number is going to be 1,000. Hit enter. Let's see. So it says I made a mistake of some sort. Let's see. Oh, yes, okay, I just have an extra space right here, so it's just going to correct me. There we go. All right. So now I can put numbers in here. So let's say this number is 100. And let's say this number is 50. And let's say this number is 25. So 100, A5, 100, minus B5, 50, minus C5, 25. That's all greater than 0. Therefore, this cell is going to say 5,000 in it. Okay? Now, what if it was not greater than 0? So what if I made this number 43? Now it'd be 100, right here, 100 minus 50 minus 43 greater than 0, up greater than 0, so it's still 5,000. Okay? What if I made this number 53? Now we're going to have 100 minus 500 minus 53. That's greater than 0. Sorry, less than 0 because it's 100 minus 50 minus 53. It's going to be less than 0, and therefore it's going to put 1,000 into this box. All right? And then we can kind of connect all of these things together. We can connect things together. So let's do one more statement. So let's do this. We could say this cell will equal if, so let's say this, if parentheses, if A, and what are we on, 7, if A7 is greater than 100, comma, then I'm going to make, I got to put this in parentheses, then I'm going to make the answer in this cell be 5,000 D2, D2 plus D5. Otherwise, I'm going to say otherwise, if A7 is not greater than 100, then I'm going to make this cell be equal to, parentheses, D2 minus D5. And then we got to end the parentheses, end the whole thing, and hit return. So right now it's going to be 4,000. And what did I say? If it was greater than 100, then if A7 is greater than 100, then we're going to add these two together. If it's less than 100, then we're going to subtract them. So right now it's less than 100. I don't have a number in there. Let's just put a number, 155. Now it's going to add those two together. So you see, you can connect all these things together with all these if statements. What really matters, what I'm really wanting you to get out of this, is that we've got to be able to write these if statements where we write a logical statement. If the logical statement is true, comma, then this goes in the cell. If it's not true, comma, then this other thing goes in the cell. And we're going to use that idea a lot as we build the personal tax calculator. All right, thanks for joining me. There's been another podcast with Mr. Hagan, and we'll see you on the next podcast.